Hi. Today I'm going to talk about 3 tips for having a more successful morning, especially for people who struggle with discipline or consistent schedules or just not wanting to feel kind of trapped that you have to do the same thing every morning, or feeling like you've tried that and you've failed and nothing kind of works for doing something consistently. So this might be a great video for fellow NTPs or NFPs, or anyone who just feels like consistent routine and discipline does not work for them. So you probably already know, you've heard so much about how important morning routine is, right? So I want to help you crack the code to figure out how to have a good, successful morning to set you up for a good day. So tip number 1 is to focus on identifying the key choice points, the key moments in your morning that represent the moment when you could go down a path that's going to set you up for success, or there's this other, perhaps more familiar or easier feeling path that will set you up for something less than success. And what's important here is you might not always make the ideal choice in those moments, but the skill that I'm advocating for is practicing noticing what those points are and catching them, just witnessing them in real time arise. Like, oh, wow, this right now is one of those key moments. I need to pay attention to this, right? So as an example, for me, when I've really analyzed kind of moment to moment in my morning, 2 key choice points arise. One is when I first get out of bed and I think about my meditation practice. And the choice point is deciding how long I'm going to meditate for. And, luckily in the past, the choice point used to be, do I meditate or not? But I've practiced that enough now that it's how long. And so I can do a long one or a short one. And if I do a short one, then that's way better than nothing. But it's kind of sending me down the path of feeling almost like I'm compromising or taking the easy way out. So, it's not the worst choice in the world, but it's a clear choice point where if I decide to do the longer meditation, then what that does is it makes me feel like I'm really living my values and I'm really prioritizing something that's hard, but is aligned with how I want to be in the world. So that's the first one. The second key choice point for me this is an even more important one, is when I've showered, I've meditated, I go downstairs, I sit down on the couch with my laptop, I open it up, and the key choice point is which icon I click first. And the less valuable path is if I click the email icon or anything, messages, anything that opens me up to input from other people. And the more successful path is to open Notion or Pages, a writing app, something creative, something that is going to allow me to journal or blog or record a video, something that feels like I'm doing something that's aligned with how I want my day to be going, that I'm prioritizing the things that are the right priorities for me. So I say that that's such a key choice point because in that moment, I can so easily create a powerful story for myself that I'm just going to click the email icon real quick, just make sure there's nothing time sensitive, and then I'll go do the writing. So I try to excuse away that choice of clicking the email icon, but that's why it's such a critical choice point, because I know how that story goes. That even in that moment, that voice is so loud of, oh, it's not a big deal, just check the email. But it is a big deal. That is a key choice point. So like I said, even though I fail sometimes and I do end up clicking the email, it's been so illuminating for me to realize that that right there is the key choice point, and it's going to set my day up for success. It's going to dictate so often whether I can look back on the day and say, yes, I did that writing that's really important to me. I released a new video. I, did something that feels like how I want my day to go. So just that little point right there is way more significant than it feels for how small an amount of time it is. Just that half a second window of which one do I click, that is so pivotal. So I encourage you for this first step to really practice noticing where are those choice points for you. Is it what you do right when you get out of the shower? Is it what you do right after you finish eating breakfast? Or what you choose to eat for breakfast, the healthy thing or the less healthy thing, right? There could be all sorts of things, but find your choice points. The second tip is when you're trying to decide where to spend your time, which task to focus on, or which item to do first, to practice focusing on the thing that is rarer, the thing that feels kind of harder to do, that is kind of more available now than it will be later. So for me, writing definitely falls into that category, that it feels much more available to me first thing in the morning than it does in the afternoon. Same with working out. I do my writing first, but then there's kind of this key window where it feels like working out feels available. But if I put it off for too late in the day, then it's going to feel much harder. Whereas email feels easy in the morning, but it also feels easy in the afternoon. It feels easy anytime to check my email. And there are other things like that too. So it's kind of like looking at the activation energy, or kind of how much work does this thing feel like? How doable does it feel? And even though writing doesn't feel super easily doable to me all the time, it feels far more doable in the morning than it does in the afternoon. So I invite you to notice when you're trying to decide, do I prioritize this thing or this thing? See if you can prioritize the thing that feels especially doable now compared to how it will feel later. And then the third tip is, in the morning, prioritize an activity that will put you into a valuable state, a kind of psycho-emotional state. And so, for example, if you choose to check email first, that's probably more likely to put you into a state of feeling like you're focused on what's important to other people if they've emailed you, or you're focused on productivity, or in a very kind of thinking space, in the analytical mind, or just kind of like time pressure, right? That's kind of the state that it might put you in. Whereas if in the morning you prioritize journaling, or creating art, or creating music, activities like that are more likely to put you into a state of creativity, or openness, or expansiveness, or feeling into your values, right? And if you can start off the day in that state, then you're more likely to find yourself coming back to that state throughout the day. So, you can prioritize different things on different days. Some days maybe you need to focus on what's the most productive thing, or what's the most time-sensitive thing, what have I been putting off? But some days, at least, I encourage you to try to focus instead on what kind of state do I want to be in, and which activity is most likely to get me to that state. All right, so again, the 3 tips are starting by paying close attention to notice the choice points. Number 2 is prioritizing the thing that feels more accessible now, or more rare now than it will later. And the third thing is focusing on which activity or way I could be spending my time right now is likely to put me into a valuable state that I want to be in. All right, so I encourage you to practice those 3. Let me know how it goes. Let me know which of those resonates most with you, or which is hardest. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Have a great day.